Good morning and welcome to Middle Earth Readings. Today, Monday the 3rd of October. My name is Maggie Rose Cunningham. I'm going to be hosting for you today, and we're diving into the theme of partnership and power. We've just moved into the half month of Gibo, which is the rune of exchange and gift giving and oath making, and we're going to be exploring two planetary movements and what they might mean this week, apologies. Odin's chariot, I should also say, the Roman equivalent Mercury, has just moved out of retrograde. And for those of you who work with me through the Birth Rune Soul Journey, you will know that when we look at the retrograde motion, often it's the point where the chariot, that's holding the energy of the planet, changes course, where we can feel the ripple effects of the planet. So we might still get a little bit of turbulence in these coming days, but it should start to ease now. We should find our communication coming a little bit easier, which is great for me, because in the hearth space we are looking at sacred utterance through all of the course of this month. And obviously doing rune readings, as I'm doing here with you today, is a form of sacred utterance. And my invitation to you is to think very carefully about the power of your words through the coming weeks. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. We've got our rune reading coming up in the hearth space later this week, and I've got a little bit of prep work for those of you who are going to be joining me that I wanted to share today. I'll see if I can put it into the hearth space as well for those people who aren't here today. Good morning everybody who has said hello: Diane, Felicity, Esther, Erica, Marie, Lisa, Candice. Lovely to see all of you, and you are doing a wonderful job of sharing your runes for the week. So I'd like you to think about the idea of your runes being your partners through the course of this week. This rune has offered itself to you to be your partner. So one of the reasons why we're going to be talking about partnership and power just at the very end of completing a month in the hearth space of looking at divine partnership. And I think the runes themselves were feeling a little bit left out because we talked about Njord and Ul. But what does it mean to partner with our runes? And this is a theme that comes to me often. I do get quite frequently, people will send me requests to say, what will happen if, what's going to happen in this context? Will I get a job? Will I get a partner? Will this bad thing happen that I'm worried about? And those readings, that's not my sphere. That's not my sphere of working. Because for me, the runes are there to partner with us, to help us to weave our destiny and to step into power, whatever the circumstances are that are happening within our lives. And the first question for me with anybody, if they said, am I going to get a job? Am I going to get a partner? Is, well, what have you done to get that job? And what are you currently doing? And it may be then that the runes would help you in that context. But the action has to come from you. The momentum has to come from you first. Why otherwise would they come forward and say, yes, we will offer our energy and our support and our guidance and our wisdom to you, because we can see the momentum of travel. We can see where you're going, and we can see how hard you're trying, and we want to be there and we want to have your back in that sense. So I want to look at a bit of the presence to that. I'm reminded of, for those of you who are enjoying the Rings of Power series that's on Amazon at the moment, which is, broadly speaking, looking at the story that went before Lord of the Rings. So the Rings of Power, Galadriel, fabulous Galadriel, I love her, she's still a very, an ancient elf, but she is very different from the Galadriel that we have much later on in Middle Earth. She's still forming herself. She's still in the formative years. She's a warrioress. And she meets a queen by the name of Miriel, who is the queen regent of Numenor. It's one of the kingdoms of man. And the peoples of Numenor had been faithful allies and partners with the elves. And then over time, for whatever reason within the kingdom, they lost that trust, or some of the peoples lost their trust in the elves. And that partnership is broken. And some of the peoples are still holding on to the partnership and some of them are not. Now, Miriel, for those of you who, I hope I'm not going to do any spoilers here, is part of her father was part of the group of the faithful, and he loses the throne because of it. And so she's in a very tenuous position when Galadriel comes, in that she can't openly say that she is faithful to the elves, because then her people would turn against her. And yet she has possession of one of the Silmarils. So these are seeing stones that were created by the elves, and one of them is gifted to Númenor to help them to see the future. And Miriel's father saw dark things, dark, bad things happening within the Silmaril, and so does Miriel. And so she is weighed down by the bond that she has to her people. That means if she openly declares and publicly declares fealty to the elves, she will lose her power. But the Silmaril, this particular Silmaril, is showing a potential future where the partnership with the elves, the loss of the partnership with the elves, will result in the destruction of the kingdom. And so she is in a place where she feels powerless. She has to tread this very careful tightrope line. And I'm not going to give away the story, but there is a moment where I see her, she's on horseback sort of later on in this. She's on horseback, and she has this look of, no, there's a battle going on. Let's be clear, there's a battle going on, but she has a look of contentedness, of expansiveness, this that the tightrope has gone, that she has taken action, and that the consequences are now playing, that something is happening. You know, the momentum has been achieved. So just like I was saying, that she's gone from being paralyzed and unable to act, seeing, you know, the potential futures, I'll lose my kingdom, or my kingdom will be destroyed, I'll lose my kingdom, or my kingdom will be destroyed, into action that she has taken. And that in itself serves as a release for her. She steps into her power. She chooses to take action. And that is the moment of freedom for her. So in thinking about when we work with our runes, and when we partner with our runes, and when we choose to take action, it is worth always bearing in mind, what am I playing with in this moment? What are the things that I'm going to do a reading for? And what's present for me in this? What is it that I'm looking for? What would I desire from the reading? You know, even before you then go and do the reading, really bringing presence to where you are. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I could go on. I could talk about the Lord of the Rings for ages. For those of you who haven't watched the I've forgotten what it's called now, the series. I've just said its name and I've forgotten it. The Rings of Power. For those of you who haven't watched it, but you're familiar with the older stories, you could look at the relationship of Theoden with Wormtongue, who's this sort of whispering in the fear in his ear, and also of the steward of the White Tree of Faramir's dad, Faramir and Boromir's dad. I can't remember his name. And he has a Silmaril as well, and he looks into it and he sees darkness within it, and again it disempowers him. And it is only through the taking of action that both of his sons choose to take action. And although they may, you know, Boromir doesn't meet a brilliant end, he meets a proud end. You know, he knows that he can walk amongst his ancestors with pride, you know, rather than walking in shadow and fear. And so there is something here about saying, okay, it might not be that I always choose the easy path, but I choose the path that is going to light up my soul regardless. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to leave you with in terms of thinking about partnership and power, and how you want to partner with your runes, and what you are looking for them for as like divine advisors. You know, that they're not there to dictate, but they are there to support and lend their power for the actions that you want to take in your life. So bringing more presence to that. What am I aiming for? What do I want from my life? Allows them to speak to you more clearly. So we have two movements, as I've said. So we've got Frigg's Chariot in Gibo, which starts on the 5th of October, so in 2 days' time. And that really enhances the Gibo energy that we've already got with Suna's Chariot. So the sun is already in Gibo, and Frigg's Chariot is going to move into Gibo as well. And she does really invite us. She says tyranny is founded on fear. Sovereignty is founded on trust. And that speaks so much to what I was talking about, I think, with this this idea of partnership and power and choosing the path that we know is right in our hearts, trusting ourselves, trusting the voice within, whatever is happening externally. Because if we allow fear to dictate our actions, we are not with ourselves. You know, we become other, we become something that we, you know, is not our most powerful selves. So Frigg is bringing that message home even more strongly. And then we have a full moon on the 9th. So at the end of the week, we have a full moon in Ewaz. And Ewaz is the rune of partnership as well. It's a different type of partnership. So Gibo is about codified partnership. It's about oaths taken, commitments made, you know, that formal standing. You know, you think about Muriel standing as queen and thinking about the bonds that she has to the elves, the bonds that she has to her people, what she's seen. Ewaz is instinctive. It is getting into action, getting into motion, sometimes taking a leap of faith. So we have that full moon energy as well to say, where will you leap? Where do you want to leap to? You know, that comes through very, very strongly. So before I do the your readings for your runes of the week, and wow, I've got lots of people. Hello, everybody. And Adila said, fear is the mind killer. Indeed, bringing a bit of June in there, aren't we? A bit of quotes from June. Well, we're in filmic mode now. The myths and legends of a film, the modern, you know, mythic seers of our day, Tolkien, and again, forgotten, author of June. Somebody could put it in the chat box if you remember who it is. Apologies, author of June. No, these places of myth are still being born and birthed into our world as we speak. We don't just look for them in the realms of the ancestors. But before I do your runes of the week, I just wanted to say that for those of you coming to our Inner Circle class this week, first of all, it's not going to be on Friday. I have been asked to go and support a training that's happening over a few days. It starts on Thursday. I am going to look at whether I can run the class for you on Thursday morning, but it may be on Wednesday, so just look out for that. I'm going to post it in the Hearth space here so that it's easy for those of you who are already members, or for those of you who want to join, you can join up for that class. But just so you know, it's not on Friday, and apologies for the short notice on that, but it's important. The piece that I'm going to go and support is, yeah, I can feel that that's part of my divine partnership and stepping into what I stand for, so I'm going to be doing that. In preparation for the reading, we're going to be looking at sacred utterance, and I'm going to do a live this week on sacred utterance, you know, what it might mean for us, what it might unfold for us, how we might deepen into the connection and our understanding of sacred utterance within our own lives. I'd like you to think about statements that your mind holds, maybe from the past, maybe from experiences from the past, or things that are coming up for you in the present, that hold perceived negativity, that hold fear, restraint, feelings of being bound, and positive or perceived positive. We're going to go into this more deeply, don't worry about it. So you just need to think about what's present for me about my relationship with myself and my understanding of the type of person that I am. So I started doing this for myself, and I've written down on my perceived negative space, I am alone. You know, I was feeling into, you know, what's present for me right now, and it might be that that's something that I've, you know, felt loneliness in the past, and it's just coming through a little bit. You know, I just sit there, sit in the space. I am afraid. You know, everyone's afraid at some point. Just feeling into that. I am overwhelmed. You know, that comes quite a lot when I look at my to-do list, I'm honest. I am unsure. So these are the starts of things that I'm starting to capture, just in terms of what's present, what's surfacing in my mind when I sit. On the other side, I had, I am brave. No, I am brave. I am a leader. I am sure. This is interesting to me that I was like, yeah, I can feel, here I am when I'm unsure, here I am when I'm sure. I am wise. Ooh. Allow yourself to capture those things, however much you feel like when you write down the positives. You might go, I can't possibly write that down. No one else will see. You don't have to say it out loud like I've just done on a Facebook Live for you all. What's there? What's present for you? And we're going to be playing with that in our rune reading as part of this piece on sacred utterance. So have a little play, and see what feels negative or shadow maybe to you, and what feels positive or a little bit edgy or a little bit like I'm claiming something that's not mine. Just have a play with them and see what's there and surfaces for you, and then we will have some fun with that when we come to the Inner Circle class this week. Right, let's look at your runes. So good morning to Diane. Okay, so you've got two Northers and Lagos upside down together. I've had to set a rule that I won't do readings that are multiple runes, because there are too many people coming in the sessions, and I won't be able to get through everybody at the same time. So I'm going to do Northers reversed for you. So the Merc stave of Northers, which has got the shape of Lagos in it anyway. It's interesting, if you have a little look at your Northers rune, you'll see this Lagos is all upside down and jumbled up together within that. So for me, there is actually almost with your Northers rune upside down or on its side, I'm seeing it, but I'm imagining what would fully reversed Northers that didn't have the same I didn't have the same meaning. What would it say? And there is a sense for me of the water and fire not working in cooperation with each other. Look at that, you snuck that in, and you've got some Lagos energy in there as well, Diane. You're very clever. I'm only doing it because now I can see the Lagos inside the Northers. It's almost trying to spark a fire in wet, with wood that is wet, isn't going to work. So it's bringing your creativity to this and saying, maybe I'm putting my effort in a place where I'm not going to achieve some of those results because the wood is damp and I can't get the spark going for the fire. So I can't actually spark the need fire there. So what you're going to want to look at is to say, where can I find that dryness? Where can I find that really good wood, that really good fuel, all the different ways in which people kindled the need fire. It could be that it's about using a different type of kindling in a different way. So really bringing your creativity. So if there's a problem that you're looking at and you're going, I'm going to look at this problem, it might be about saying, okay, maybe the methods that I'm using aren't right. I need to try something else. Or it might be that where you're focusing your energies isn't right because the air is damp, the wood is damp, the fuel is damp. So it's literally what I'm feeling from that. So very cunning of you, Diane. I'm going to try and stick with my strictness. Felicity, you have got Suello. I'm really, as I felt that real freedom coming through. It's like my shoulders came back, I have the wind in my hair, and it reminded me of Miriam, I was saying in the story, where you'll see that, for those of you who've watched the series, she has these amazing crowns. They're just awesome, really epic crowns with sort of bits sticking out, and there's always like bits of like chains. She looks very beautiful, but she does look bound in some way, like she's having to hold her head, and it's quite a constrained position that she has to be in to hold that sovereign power with the way that her crowns operate. And then when she goes out onto the warrior on the field and into the battle, she sits on the sidelines. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I like kings and queens who go into battle themselves, but maybe she's not. Maybe she's not trained. But she looks free, and she's got her armor on, and she doesn't have one of these big crowns on. And that's what I'm feeling. It's that sense of Suello saying, "Come and partner with me, and look for the fun and the freedom and the joy in the moment." Suello has a mischievous side to it. It's the rune of the sun wheel, for those who might not be so familiar with your runes, of guidance, of following. It is a rune of leadership. So it is following leadership, but it's very much about self-leadership in this sense of saying, yeah, we're going here because it feels really good. Now, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's so much better than the ice and the constraint of the of being rigid over here. So it's saying have fun, claim freedom, and who knows what might follow from that. Esther, you have got Bacano, so we're deepening down. We've been up with the sun and this drawing, the light of Suello drawing sun, and now we're deepening down into the earth-rich energy of the Bacano rune, of the birch tree, of new birthings. And I'm feeling that, literally seeing like a birch forest with the moss on the ground, and the birch trees when their leaves are yellowing in the autumn, and they have such beauty, and there's a reminder of spring for me in that moment, before the birch trees let their leaves fall and become, you know, sort of naked. I'm thinking of the silver birch. Obviously there are other birch. I've got a lovely birch tree outside in the garden here, and it's got the, you know, its leaves are going from green to yellow, and it just reverberates for this moment with the way that when autumn comes, we feel into the seasonality of the moment, and we remember the seasons past, and we remember what's coming ahead. And Bacano says that quietness, that peacefulness, that release reminds us that is part of the cycle of rebirthing. So there is an invitation, similar to Felicity in some way, to let go, to sort of surrender, to have release, and to give those, the heaviness and the burdens. If you remember, if we could go back into the story of Miriel, of putting those down sometimes and giving them to the earth, and remembering, yes, the runes partner with us, and Bacano is saying, you know, feel into the partnership of the earth. I'm actually sort of seeing you almost like sitting in that glade, or sitting on a stone somewhere, and feeling into, where are those things that I'm carrying, that I've been carrying for such a long time, and I'm going to let go, and I'm going to place on the earth, and the earth is saying, I can take it, don't worry. And you don't have to feel guilt about putting some things down sometimes, and saying, I'm just not able to carry that right now. You know, really allowing yourself to feel the support, and for the earth to say, no, I've got you. Your Desir circle as well could well be whispering through the Bacano rune with that. And I have had that in the past with members of my Desir, of my ancestral soul clan, coming forward and saying, we've got you, we'll take that for a moment. So trust that, allow that to happen, remembering that is the way that we deepen into winter and allow ourselves to then grow. The trees let go of their leaves, no? They let go of the energy they don't need, the things they don't need to carry, so that they can preserve their energy and be ready for the spring, to be reborn again. Erica, you have got Dargaz. Very lovely interplay of light, the light and the earth here. So I'm seeing now the Dargaz rune rippling through those green yellow leaves on the birch trees, and just calling, whispering for something new, something unexpected. And Dargaz is appearing to me here less as a large gateway. So Dargaz is the rune of day, of sudden transformation. But for you, Erica, I'm seeing it as being like tiny little Dargaz runes, almost like drops of dew on the trees in the morning where the light glints. And it's allowing those things to come through, those really tiny moments that can bring major transformation if we allow ourselves to receive them. So again, there's still a freedom and a release that's coming through, that's we've had with Felicity and Esther, but it was slightly different because there is a stepping forward and a feeling of the pleasure and the joy in the moment, and thinking, well, what if through the course of months, maybe years, a great shift and transformations have been occurring, and what the Dargaz rune is opening that moment of real stepping through and owning and claiming. So it's almost like this moment of stepping fully into power that the Dargaz rune is offering you in this time, and saying, sometimes doing that, you know, through the course of each day, I'm ready, you know, I'm ready, I step through, is what's needed, rather than a big moment. So lots of small moments there for you with Erica. Marie, you have Ansu's Rune of Odin. I really like that you've got that there. I literally feel Odin. I mean, sort of imagining him going, woohoo! as the planet Mercury moves out of retrograde, and he's like, right, I can get back on with it. Now he's done his period of introspection and reflection, of hanging on the world tree, or of journeying out into the world alone, of sitting by Mimir's Brunn, receiving the wisdom from his seeing eye, and he's returning to his hall now with the Ansu's rune, ready to bring forth what he has received, ready to give voice to new ideas, ways of being, inspirations that he's had, you know, a holiday that you want to plan, a piece of work that you'd like to bring out, people that you want to connect with, stories that you want to read again. It's a really great time for capturing those things and saying, you know, what can Ansus offer to me through the course of this week that's going to make the next, I can really feel it's like the next year, really, you know, next weeks, the next months, the seasons, that will make them really pleasurable and delicious and wonderful. So it could be a really nice time for scoping out ideas like that, Marie, for things that you would like to bring into your life or bring into the life of those around you, knowing that there is time to bring them into fruition. Now might be a time of voicing. It's not always a time of doing, which is why I think looking at the longer term would be really helpful, rather than saying, oh, you know, I've had loads of ideas and I have to do them all of this week. It's actually saying, no, you know, if Odin has been on this deep dive into himself, and you are riding that tide of him re-emerging there and offering those ideas. Lisa, you have Ewaz, so lovely preparation for the Ewaz full moon. Here with this one, actually, I'm feeling Sleipnir, Odin's horse. So, you know, although we talk about Odin's chariot as being the planet, when Odin goes out into the world, he often goes on Sleipnir, particularly if he's going, you know, he's going alone, he's going through to discover new knowledge and wisdom out there in the world. And there's a sense for me of recognizing, with even Sleipnir, this amazing, you know, 8-legged steed who can pass through any barrier, who can travel anywhere, that even Sleipnir needs to rest and recharge. And the little question that's popping into my mind is, you know, what does Sleipnir do to chill out? You know, when Odin's returned to his hall, where is Sleipnir? What is he doing? And there's a bit of a cheekiness there, I think, Lisa, around this sense of stepping into a little bit of partnership with Sleipnir himself there, that if he is, you know, an extraordinary being, what do extraordinary beings do to rest, to recharge, to have fun, to, you know, when they're at home? And I think there's a recognition there. He's saying, you know, you are an extraordinary being. So, you know, I was playing with the words that I've invited you to feel into. There's something there maybe about looking at claiming those things that can feel every day, can feel normal, that we don't name in our society. It's almost like if you were a mythic being and you were to sort of say, yeah, my superpowers are, you know, I don't know why, but I'm seeing you doing a puzzle here. I can't describe why, but it's also, you know, when we put a puzzle down and we're sitting there, we're doing the puzzle and we're fitting all of the pieces together, and, you know, we're creating the picture. And oh yes, I've done a puzzle, and that's a hobby, isn't it? It's a modern day hobby that we do. But if we were to look more deeply at that, we would say, you know, I'm a pattern maker, I'm a pattern seer. I have, you know, the patience to understand somebody else's vision and to piece that together and recreate it for myself. You know, what happens when I'm doing that puzzle? Where does my mind travel to when I'm doing that puzzle? You know, I'm a weaver of story from doing puzzle. I feel the colours as they're coming through. This is really about playing with those moments where you go, what is it that my soul is looking for when I undertake my everyday replenishing, regenerating activities? Why don't I look at naming them? You know, we're very good because we have language that has become codified, has become, you know, here's a dictionary, this will tell you the meaning, this is what it means. You know, we're told all the time, this is what your life means. You know, you like to do puzzles. It's so much more than that. And we get to claim that unique, you know, our own unique language and ways of looking at. So, a little bit of a meander there for you, Lisa. But it's about perception. I think it is about self-perception. And so, you know, if Sleipnir, this extraordinary being, can see himself in a field as this epic, you know, great adventure of an amazing 8-legged horse, you know, who has gone on his adventures and he's coming back and he's experiencing the world. And how does he experience the world? We can do the same ourselves. So yeah, he's inviting you to play. Where are we now? I'm scrolling down. And Dis, so you have Wunyo reversed. So Wunyo is the rune of joy. It's kith and kin. There's ecstatic practice within it as well. There is poetry that comes through. I feel as if maybe this is a little bit of, I don't want to say the word snagging, it's something that still is waiting to come through after the period of Odin's chariot being in retrograde. And I've talked about this and the Zod energy for Marie, of sort of it's coming through whoosh, and it's there. Wunyo upside down suggests more of the introspective, quiet, receiving time. I feel as if it is perhaps your body speaking to you a little bit here. I was talking to Lisa about imagining those moments, the things that she chooses to do to relax and rest, and seeing those in a mythic sense, seeing those in a more creative way. I'm really feeling for you that there's a message that your body wants to offer you at this point about relationship, about your relationship with body and its relationship with you. Obviously, you are one and woven together. But there's a breathing in and a receiving and a recognition again of the magics of sleep and nourishment and movement that we sometimes don't allow ourselves to feel into fully. I know that for me it was a massive light bulb moment when I realised that a lot of my best ideas, I will receive whole, this is what middle earth readers will be today, or this is what you will be teaching today, or this is what the class will look like when I sleep. And this is something that isn't often, we're not often, it's not taught in school. Well, people say sleep on it, don't they? But they don't really explain that. So it's an offer to deepen into that aspect of self, that aspect of the wisdom of the body. And how can you even more strongly and even more profoundly receive the wisdom of your body and work with it? When my conscious mind is sleeping, my body and my subconscious mind are working, and they appear to be much wiser than my conscious mind, if I'm honest. So what is that offering you? Elaine says, good morning. Rebecca says, hello, I'll catch up with the replay, but looking forward to it. My rune for the week is Gibo. So very much harnessing the energy of the sun and the energy of Frigg's chariot with Gibo as well. There is a real gravitas that I'm feeling here. We've talked about this before, Rebecca, I think, of the idea of sovereignty. And maybe it's because it's come just after I've been talking to Candice about that wisdom in the body. There is Candice is really still whispering to me. Wunyo reversed is still whispering to me. Wunyo and Gibo are very close to each other. So Gibo and when you're at the end of the first 8, so they are talking still about primal energies, about contractual is what's coming through for me with Gibo. I feel as if there is a call to look at those, just spend a little bit of, maybe lightly just feeling into where might I need to pay a little bit of attention to any contracts entered into or offered one way or the other, just to pay a little bit of attention to those with your sovereign crown on. I don't feel a sense of danger necessarily, like, there's a clause missing from this. More a sense of strengthening, that there is potential for strengthening, and whether that is through changing the wording of a contract or through revisiting something and saying, well, maybe I'm not getting best value from this, or simply voicing and uttering, when we're moving into sacred utterance as well, but thinking of all of those contracts as being aspects of your sovereign partnership with the universe and paying attention to them in that sense is what I'm getting through. So I hope that's helpful, Rebecca. That was quite, I was sort of going, oh, what's going there? And then suddenly it was like, oh, there we go. So contracts, terms and conditions, legal documentation of any description is asking for your attention a little bit to sort of say, yes, we are part of your sovereign realm. So you get to treat us as such. That's what I'm hearing there. Eileen, you've got Ansus. So we've covered Ansus with Marie. Is there anything else that's coming forward? I think just a little bit. There are certainly creative ideas, but I'm getting the sense of writing being important for you as well, Eileen. So it might be that if you already do a journaling practice, just bring a little bit more presence and awareness to that. If you don't, it might be a good idea to try. You might want to do a bit of wild writing, I want to call it. Now, interestingly, one of the things I am planning to do in the half space this week for our sacred utterance piece is in 3 weeks. 3 weeks time? No, 2 weeks. No, 3 weeks time. When we do what I normally do is an embodiment and meditation session for the theme, as you know. But I am feeling called to do a wild voices class. Can't even speak. This is not good sacred utterance. I am feeling called to do a wild voices class, which is an opening to voice, to the power of voice for this space within the half space. So if you're thinking, oh, I'd like to experience more, I love journaling, I love writing, I love received automatic writing can also be part of that as well. You might want to pop along to that class because it will be fun, and I think it's very much in keeping with the rune that's offering. Obviously this is the rune for the week, but we're opening into a new month as well, so see if Ansus whispers to you. But yeah, doing some actual, I am seeing writing there specifically, not just voice. Eric says, great start to the week with sacred utterance. Yay! I know, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun month. Diane, great explanation of how the runes work and how we participate. Thank you, Diane. I'm glad that it was really came forward really strongly that was important to speak this time. Suzanne, you have Jen with Algis. So, Jen with Algis, Darren with Faye, Carol with Keenaz, and Troy with the Thola. So we have all different runes for this session. So Jen with your Algis rune. That's me shifting energy, by the way. And I do my big sigh. I'm into the Algis rune and feeling its shape opening up above me, reaching up to the heavens, to the inspiration that can be drawn from above. And then my trunk is extending downwards, creating the shape of the Algis rune. I don't have my card. Oh, I do actually. I've got my cards to hand, and Algis is sitting right on the top. So for those of you who want to feel that, there we have the Algis rune, the rune of guidance. There is protection within the Algis rune as well, but I'm feeling the guidance more strongly here for Jen. When I was a teenager, I was feeling into the magic, let's just say. I was feeling into magic. I was away from home, I had my own space, I had a lot of freedom, and I was trying to find the connection to the cycles and the wheel of the year that I couldn't find through the zodiac. I never quite got there, but I worked for a long time with the symbols of the zodiac and creating their shapes with my body and opening to their energies. And I did receive a lot in terms of I got a lot from the movement and from feeling that connection to the stars, which was wonderful. I didn't get such a strong connection as I now do with the runes. It's one of the reasons why I started to follow runic astrology, because I can feel their energy through my body in the moments, through the half months. And I think that Algis is speaking of that. It's speaking of perhaps honouring, again, slightly different to what we've had before. When I was talking about honouring the body, I think it was that with Candice, we were talking about listening for the body. For me with Algis, it is if you do any form of energy work, or if you do any form of karate or judo or dynamic dance, it's saying this is a connective practice for you, and there's just like a recognition of that. So as I was feeling into the Algis rune, it was really strongly saying, Feel your arms pushing the energy outwards, you know, that which is constraining. You know, I was talking about binding with Muriel at the beginning. It's like pushing that energy outwards there, feeling to my very edges, and then reaching up into the stars and feeling the stellar energy and drawing that back down into my center. So when if you do meditations, you know, it's very common for people to do the meditation of the tree meditation. You might know it. You know, drawing the stellar energy and the earth energy up. It's actually using your body to enhance that is what is coming through, is important to me at this point. Using the body to enhance visualized practice is what's coming through. So that sounds like fun. I want to hang out with Jen this week. I want to do that. Jen, if you want to hang out, let me know. Darren has Feiyu. So again, there's a very strong physical energy that comes through with Feiyu anyway. It's the first rune in the Elder Futh arc. And for you, again, as it's asking for, we're looking at partnering, we're looking at the power of partnering. I would recommend for you one of the sort of fundamental practices that is really helpful to work with Feiyu is, again, I think might be a little bit of embodied practice, because you've come sitting there with Jen, and we're so strong in terms of that sense of the physicality of movement that Elga's was calling for. With Feiyu, you want to think about it as like a life force energy. It's the rune of wealth, but prior to wealth, prior to us having money of any kind, and the rune existed before these things, it was life force. It was cattle and movement and blood, the pulse of the blood. And so we have life force channeling through us all of the time. So what you can do with your Feiyu rune is you can chant it, the Feiyu chanting, and you can imagine its energy, its golden green energy coming up from the earth and filling your body. And you can start to track through your body with the breath, through feeling with your hands, you know, if you're an energy healer, where there might be blocks to that life force energy. Now, I've just described something very, very quick that normally I teach people in one-to-one sessions, so I can't go into the full detail for you, Darren, but if you've worked the Feiyu rune, if you have done any form of energy work before, then it's calling you in that way. If you haven't done that type of work before, what I would suggest is that you sit and you trust the rune, sit within its energy, either visualize it coming in or chant its name, and trust that it's going to do that work of releasing any blocks to life force energy for you in your energy body, in your system, and see what comes. But it might also be whispering at you, so you know, come and have a chat if that's something that you would like to have a one-to-one session with, or it might be that you would find the Awakening program when it launches again in June next year. And Feiyu is the first rune, so embodied practice with the runes is coming through very strongly today. And then Karen has got Kinaz. There you go, another physical rune with the Kinaz rune, the rune of physical transformation. So it's also in the first 8, just like Feiyu, but there is more of a consciousness attached to the Kinaz rune, because it's about knowledge and enlightenment and the torch that is drawing in inspiration. Now I'm thinking now of Marie, Ansi's rune, pushing it out. Kinaz is drawing it in. That inspiration is coming and I'm receiving it. I want to do something with it. I want to manifest it. It can be the rune of physical transformation. So things like bruising on the skin is very Kinaz, because our ancestors saw it and they went, oh, you know, there has been a physical transformation in my body, and my body is now a different colour. You know, all of those different colours. When the if you've ever done forge work, you'll know that the metals like change in terms of the different colours that they that are there. I would say glass does the same, but that could be a total lie. But you know, they shift and change colour as well as shape when they are heated. I've got a bracelet of copper that I made with a smith, and I was just oh, what is that? You know, there's deep mysteries of Kinaz, which are the mysteries of physical transformation, as well as the mysteries of the transformation of the mind and of enlightenment. So there is a call here for you, Carol, to again, almost, this has come up for a few people now, it's this witnessing of the extraordinary and what we consider to be ordinary. I think that Bragi might have something to do with this. He's our patron for sacred utterance, and he's definitely interested in how we view a lot of our words, you know, as being like boring and mundane. So we're witnessing the extraordinary in the ordinary. So if you're already a creative person, Carol, it's really celebrating that and saying, you know, I did that. I made that. Now I'm looking at my own room now and going, you know, the room that I'm standing in is a room that I designed, and I worked with a builder, and went through multiple plans, and I decided what the floor was going to be, and I decided the heating system, what the radiators were going to look like. You know, every bit is something. Oh, I quite like this room. that I did, and I chose the colours on the walls and all of these things. So it's something that I created, you know, with help, obviously, but it's witnessing those things. It's looking at those and just allowing yourself to feel the miracle and the magic that is yours. You know, that not everybody can do. And sometimes we don't recognise our skills because we think, oh, well, you know, it's easy, but it's not easy for everybody. So for you, it's recognising the power of creativity, but also of transformation. So it doesn't have to be, you know, I made a beautiful picture. It could be cookery is very much sacred to Keenaz. The shaping of space, anywhere where you shape space, claiming that as a power. And Troy has a thala. It's interesting that we've talked about home, that I started to talk about cookery and the room around me, and then Troy, you have a thala, which is the rune of estate. I think this rune is actually really inviting you into relationship with estate, with the understanding of estate, of relationship with land. Thinking about things like your family tree, if you know not just who the people were, but where they came from, and recognising that relationship with land. You know, again, sometimes we go to places and we just go, oh, this really strongly resonates with me, and it might just really strongly resonate with you and you're not sure why, but sometimes you can go back and you can go, oh, you know, I remember finding that with Yorkshire, and then realising that some of my maternal grandfather's family came from Yorkshire originally. And whenever I travel through the south of England, you know, there are places that just go, oh, you know, I just know this place. Why do I know this place? And I said, well, I may not have ever been here, but that doesn't mean that I don't have a connection to it. You know, I've one of the most boring family trees in the entire universe. Genetically dull. South of England, I know it well. My body knows it well. My genetics know it really, really well. So it resonates with me. The land resonates with me. So it's about, again, this is very much about paying careful attention, Troy. So maybe looking at, in the space that I live in or I work in, does that feel like part of my estate? Something that I have soul connection to, or something that I feel a sense of service towards? If not, why might that be? Is that okay with me? Could I build that relationship more? Or am I recognising that at the moment I am a wayfarer, a guest, you know? And that in itself is a sacred position to be in. Certainly in the Northern tradition, you know, guests were greatly honoured. Am I a guest, or am I of service to, or do I have connection with this land? Other places that you have lived in, visited, felt connection to, but also perhaps that family tree connection as well. So yeah, some honouring, some presence, some paying close attention. Elaine, you have Wunyo. So we've had Wunyo reverse. We're going to have it the right way up now. See what Wunyo brings there. So I'm reminded of Felicity. Right at the beginning, we had the Suelo rune, so there's this freedom. But for you, it's a freedom. I'm literally seeing you. I mean, I don't know where you're located, Elaine. Actually, I really should know where you're located, shouldn't I? With bare feet, running out in the woods. If it's really cold, don't do this if it's really cold, Elaine. Find another way of expressing yourself in this way, but that's the spirit. The spirit of this is seizing the joy, childish, innocent, unfettered by what other people are thinking around you. When you make a cake, licking the spoon. No, it's all of those sorts of things. It's saying, bring that, because that is one of the ways in which we fill our energetic well. You know, we draw that life force in that I've talked about with a few people through the course of this session. You know, connecting with the earth, drawing it up through the body. We were looking at embodiment with the Algis rune. There is a sense in which we can only be of service. We can only contribute our piece to the divine partnership. We can only take action when we have the energy inside us to do this. And so Wunyo is saying, pay attention to that. Give yourself that. follow those little childlike urges, because when we talk about childlike urges, we make it sound as if it's silly or foolish, when actually what we mean is instinctive or desiring. The stuff that we did before someone told us that we shouldn't. Do that. Do those things. Don't do anything dangerous or illegal. No. But do the things that, why not? Why not? And every time you do those things, just allow them to land. Allow them to land in your body. So yeah, I've just added a little bit of fuel to my fire. Add a little bit of deep Feyue energy. I've gambled in the woods with my bare feet. I've let myself release some of those fetters. I'm with Muriel on the field of battle, where she was meant to be, not bound by the crown and unable to act. Hello Marco. Action and Theoden do resonate with you, don't they? And the rune is Northiz, which also makes sense in this context of there is a call to action there with Northiz. There is almost a sense of like, you know what is needed, you know what action to take. There is also a reassurance that I'm feeling in there with the Northiz rune of I think that we've talked about schools before. There is a sense in which she's saying, I've got your back. With Muriel on her horse, we don't know what's going to happen. It's a series. We don't know what's going to happen. She's free and she's happy in the moment. But there is a sense in which the Northiz rune is almost saying, as you move into action, the Northiz rune will burn brighter and call those resources in on your behalf. So it's almost like you lighting your need fire lights a stronger need fire in the universe that burns brighter than you can see or that you can feel. So follow those instincts, follow those actions. It's a nice follow on from Elaine. It's a slightly it's not that it's less fun, but there's a fated, the things that you are fated to do, that those sort of destiny weaving pieces. It's having that trust in the Northiz rune that each time I spark my flint, I'm reminded of Diane, find that dry tinder. Each time I spark my flint, each time I kindle the flame, each time I go and I add another branch, that is happening at a deeper level, a cosmic level. A flame is being lit to draw in the resources that you need for you. In that. Sally Ann, you say, I asked the runes, I'm feeling rather lost, seeking a purpose. I received Wunyo, and you've not had it before. Now again, if you're, we've covered Wunyo, so I'm just going to feel into that a little bit more. In fact, I'm going to ask you a question, Sally Ann, which is a question that came up to me in the principles that I follow in the women's leadership company that I worked with and trained with and became a coach and a trainer with them. They have a set of guiding principles that they say, none of these are true, but life is better when we follow them. And I certainly, for me, I've printed them out, I look at them, some of them they just landed so strongly with me straight away, others I explored and I was like, that's my experience. And one of the principles that they offer is my desire and the will of the universe is the same. I'm not saying it's true, but I'm saying if we believe that the things that we want to do are the things that the universe wants us to do, they lead us towards purpose. What becomes possible for you then? Again, there can be that sense in which I was saying right at the beginning, when we stand and we feel constrained in the sense of, and I know so many people in this community and so many people that I work with in the sensitive leadership side of my work as well, want purpose. I spent years struggling to find that purpose, and I was lost and I was in the dark, looking for that. And it can become, the harder we pull, the stronger we try. Stronger we try, that's not a proper word, is it? not a proper sentence, the harder we pull, more that we say, I must find it, the more elusive it becomes, which is annoying. And then we get annoyed and we get frustrated and we feel lost. And I found that was a really liberating sentence. Well, what if my desire and what the universe had in store for me, my greatest destiny, were the same? And then just playing with that. So it's slightly different to the following the childish instincts with the Wunyo rune. It's more doing, while you wait for your purpose to arrive, why not do the things that you would choose to do with your life, the things that give you joy and bliss and happiness. Doing Middle Earth readings is something that I set out one day on my Facebook page, and I thought, I'll go and I'll talk to people about the planetary movements. And I was doing the planetary movements on the page, we moved to a group so that I could commune with you all more. And I was like, I'm really enjoying this. This is amazing. And then I just spoke it. I didn't even think, I just spoke it. I was like, what's your rune for the week? And somebody put their rune up. It was probably Suzanne. Put their rune up, and I was like, la 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 la. And I look forward to Middle Earth readings so much. It's one of my favourite things to do during the week. I'm going to say there's this and then there's this, but I love it. And that's not something that I thought was going to happen. I didn't think that coming and doing Facebook lives, blind, not knowing what people were going to bring, was going to be where I would find my joy and my bliss. But I was playing. I'm just going to play with with this. This is my Facebook page. I'll give it a go. Perhaps it's easier than doing a big long thing on my newsletter that said and I love it. I really enjoy it. So I discovered my purpose through play. I want to invite that to you. So I think that's what the Wunyo rune wants for you, Sally Ann. Have a bit of a play, and just imagine what would happen if the things that you were truly intended to do were the things that gave you delightful, wonderful joy. Chen says, popping in to share my room. You've got Manaz again. Manaz is enjoying spending time with you, Chen. So we're looking then at this idea of partnership and power, and which gives a slightly different stance on the Manaz rune. So the Manaz rune is the rune of sovereignty. It's the rune of standing in your power. But it isn't where we sometimes get lost in thinking about sovereignty, or thinking about leadership, or thinking about I've got to be strong. What does it mean to be successful? And we have this real idea that I've got to be independent. I've got to do it alone. We get it at school, don't we? You mustn't copy anybody else because that's cheating. If you work in a group, they always assess you individually. I think it's getting better in schools now, but as a child, if you had worked with somebody and you talked about getting the answer, then they wouldn't have known who was the one who actually did it. So we don't have our school system doesn't teach collaboration, or at least it didn't used to. I think it's getting a bit better now. Same with universities. I've spent years working in assessment, in quality and assessment, and the difficulties of assessing when group work, and knowing that was something that was so powerful for people to learn and grow and evolve and become fabulous professionals, leaders, human beings. And yet when we are assessed, but we can't give somebody a mark when they've done it together, made it feel as if the group work wasn't as important, when in actual fact it is. So I think what Manaz is offering to you is to start to think about the idea of sovereignty as being leveraging. There's a businessy word, isn't it? See if I can find a better one. Leveraging the relationships and the resources that you have available to you in your life, and recognizing that being powerful and successful does not mean doing everything yourself. In actual fact, it normally means the opposite. It means doing the things that you're really good at and letting other people do the things that they are really good at. So I think that the Manaz rune is really asking you to start to feel into what might deeper collaboration in your life look like, what might deeper partnership look like. And if you don't have it yet, there's an invitation for visioning. So if I could make my life in any way that I wanted to, what other people would be there, what resources would be available to me, what support would be there that would be available to me. I put the link to my other group, Sensitive Leadership Secrets, in the newsletter that went out last week. And I've done a whole month talking about support when you're a highly sensitive person. So that might be something of interest to you, Chen, if you wanted to go and join that group. You can have a little look at the newsletter or pop me a question if you don't have that, and I'll give the link, send the link over to you. Erica says, stepping fully into power and receiving tiny moments of transformation sounds fantastic. Thank you. Good. Enjoy your week. No, I look forward to it. I wish I could be there on your shoulder watching the little Dargas moments. Marie says, I love this reading. Thanks, Maggie. It's lifted my spirits immensely. Good. I am glad. That's what we want. Esther says, thank you. Candy says, this is really interesting. I haven't felt that myself lately. And I've been beating myself up for a bit for resting. So yeah, maybe that's absolutely what's needed. Haha. Lisa said, I had this image of Satan in Lushfield enjoying a good all legs in the air roll. Absolutely. Absolutely. No. And he's the only one, well, apart from spiders, and do they roll around with their legs in the air? I don't think so. No, that's something that he gets to do. Nobody else gets to have that fun. Eileen says, I love that. Thank you. Elaine says, Pembrokeshire. Lovely Pembrokeshire. So maybe a bit chilly to go out walking barefoot. You know, sometimes when I really need to do it, I take my shoes off and I literally run around the garden and come back just so that I can say that I've done it. It's always fun. But yeah, maybe wait for that for later in the year. But moments like that will help you to feel that sense of wildness. Okay, and Marco, you're saying on target. That's great. Sally Ann says, love this. Discovering purpose through play, says Erica, so wise. There you go. See, I put it in my perceived positives about myself, so wise, and there you are reflecting it back to me. Thank you, Erica. Sally Ann says, invitation to play. Yay! And Marcus says, I discovered my purpose by being Hagelazed. Now that is a word that I expect to hear in our community from now on. Hands up if you've ever been Hagelazed. I might actually put that in a post. I want to know how many people have been Hagelazed. Okay, that's something for later. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been lovely seeing all of you for our reading, looking at partnership and power. So just as a reminder, Chen, Sensitive Leadership's Secrets group, it's at the bottom of the newsletter, or you can message me. We have our Hearth Space class on sacred utterance. We're going to be doing a reading. So for those of you who are coming to that, start thinking about those words that I suggested. I'll look to do a post with a little reminder about that too, and that the class will not be on Friday. I'll get the date, the time out as quickly as I can, and there will be a live later in the week on sacred utterance and how you can bring more of that into your life. Many blessings to all of you. Lovely to see you all. Take care and see you very soon.